Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to Gamerjoob, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is Maggie Mako. So we're going into this character's backstory, gameplay mechanics, and all that good stuff as well. But before doing any of that, do be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Gamerjoob as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, we just like to say a small disclaimer, this is not exactly what will happen in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. This is just a fun, fan-made story, so do be sure to keep that in mind and enjoy the video. But alrighty, with that all out of the way, let's get into the character concept of Maggie Mako. So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, our main protagonist has run into the members of the Nightmare Critters. Each of these nightmarish characters tried to finish off the player, but in the end, they managed to get away safely. The last critter they met was Tui. Tui turned out to be a friendly character who offered to help the player escape. He managed to construct his own submarine in order to help the player navigate through the water treatment plant. The whole area is flooded and they'll need to take this submarine through the murky waters. But unknown to the player, something is lurking down in these waters here with them. And it's only a matter of time before this new critter makes themselves known. So now let's take a look at the last character of the Nightmare Critters. So this critter is known as Maggie Mako. This hungry little shark sure can eat. In all honesty, it's one of her favourite pastimes. As long as she had something to chomp on, she'd be happy. Maggie Mako. Maggie is always thinking about her belly. She's happiest with food in her mouth, and believe us, she's not picky. She loves sweets, but veggies, yuck. Don't be surprised if she takes your health eating habits advice with a dabble of sugar, some chocolate syrup, whipped cream, and a big cherry on top, all while laughing at you profusely. Scent chocolate. So, although eating made Maggie happy, in the end, it was her ravenous appetite that was her undoing. After eating something she wasn't supposed to, her body started to drastically change. No one really knows what it was, but a sample of a new form of gas managed to find its way into the water plant, and it didn't last very long in those waters. The strange chemical she consumed transformed her into a monstrous version of herself that couldn't stop eating. Anything or anyone that fell into those waters was practically fish food. The workers would feed Maggie from time to time to ensure she was kept calm. They still needed her because that new chemical compound was still active in her system. In order to replicate it, they'd need to get a sample of her blood, but getting close to Maggie wouldn't be easy. Over time, her body kept rapidly changing. If she ever found herself out of the water, she would simply just adapt to her new surroundings. But ever since the workers disappeared, the water treatment plant has completely flooded. Now, Maggie lurks in the waters looking for her next meal. She's been locked inside this area for quite some time, and it's been a while since food has entered these waters. But she'll find something new to eat before she knows it. So now we return back to the player. They've now entered the water plant in Tui's makeshift submarine. The player needs to find the water drainage port in order to clear this area and make it accessible. But just as they make their way there, something suddenly slams into the submarine. What on earth was that? They take a look and see what it was. It was Maggie Mako. She's found the submarine and desperately wants to eat the player inside. The player grabs the controls and tries to navigate the submarine out of Maggie's reach. If they take any more damage to the submarine, then it'll surely fall apart. And then they'll be left out in the open water to be devoured by Maggie Mako. So they'll need to steer the sub and get away from Maggie. They can steer into smaller waterways in order to get away. They aren't far from the water drainage port now. They just need to keep clear of Maggie and they'll be out of here. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Maggie strikes the submarine once again. The sub has now sprung a leak and is starting to fill with water. The player needs to place their grab hand on the leak in order to keep it plugged. They finally reach the water drainage port and activate the switch. The port opens up as all the water starts to rapidly drain from the area. As it does, Maggie strikes the submarine again. The sub is about to fall apart. There's leaks all over and the player can't manage them all. But luckily, before they know it, all the water from this area has drained out. They exit the submarine and see Maggie floundering on the floor. She stares at the player as she struggles for air. And then, moments later, she stops moving. Well, it looks like it's all over. The player just needs to find the exit and they'd be out of here. But just as they turn around, they hear a strange sound. Maggie starts to twitch on the floor. Then, suddenly, something erupts out of her body. Long spider-like legs start moving Maggie's body around on dry land. She's somehow adapted to walk around on her very own. She charges after the player as they make a break for the exit. They need to get out of here before this new twisted version of Maggie Mako devours them whole. Maggie's new legs allowed her to move much quicker on land. She could also breathe without being in the water. This rapid mutation is probably due to the mysterious compound that she accidentally ate. Now it's made her even stronger and twice as hungry. The player rushes through the halls, desperately looking for the exit. Maggie was hot on their tail and she was only getting faster. The player could climb up ladders to reach higher areas, but Maggie would just climb up as well and continue to chase them. Finally, the player locates the exit, but it requires multiple power cell batteries in order to open it. So the player needs to load in these batteries while also fending off Maggie Mako. They can use the batteries to raise multiple floodgates in order to block her path. But they would need to use these same batteries in order to open the exit. Finally, after juggling the batteries between the floodgates and the exit, they manage to open the door. But just as they go through the exit, Maggie Mako ambushes them. Just before she can eat the player, they quickly grab an extra battery. They quickly plug it in and one of the floodgates slams into Maggie's body. The metal bars skewer through Maggie and keep her in place. She's now stuck here until the player removes the battery. Now that Maggie is trapped on these bars, she can no longer chase the player. With this opportunity, the player leaves this area and never looks back. Finally, they have overcome these nightmare critters. Each one proved as challenging as the last, and now they've beaten the final challenge. The player was thankful for Tui's help in the end. Without that submarine, they would have never gotten out of here. But now they continue their quest to find Poppy and defeat the prototype for good. But whatever lies ahead of them is uncertain, and whatever it is, we'll just have to wait and see. So I think that Maggie Mako would be a great character to see in the next chapter. I think a water level could offer a decent level of difficulty and challenge. There could definitely be some scary moments to be had with Maggie Mako lurking around in the water. The player has to avoid her at all costs, because if they aren't careful, they'll be her next meal. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of today's character, Maggie Mako, and what you'd like to see going forward. Also, be sure to comment down all your theories for what you think is going to happen in Chapter 4. And lastly, I would just like to say a very big thank you to everyone who watched today's video and helped support the channel. I also had so much fun making all these new Nightmare Critter character concepts, and I hope you all enjoyed them as well. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to our Gamerjoob members for helping support the channel. But alrighty everyone, until the next Poppy Playtime character concept video, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.